I'm going to introduce you the concept of completing the square, but unless you get into advanced mathematics, you will not use this technique to solve a quadratic function, or excuse me, a quadratic equation. The usual ways are either to look for factoring or jump directly to the quadratic formula. By all means, the quadratic formula comes from completing the square. So before I start, does anyone know the quadratic formula? One person at a time. Landry, you go first. At least bits and pieces, we can add them together.
A squared plus b squared over c squared or something.
That's Pythagorean first.
It's really negative.
I'm looking for quadratic.
Oh, all
formula.
over 2a. I know that.
Okay, all over 2a. What
Negative
is
b plus or minus square it to
The square root of
a.
something. I know the song
Over
over
2a.
2a.
come again?
2a.
Okay, all over 2a is correct. Negative b is correct. Plus or minus is correct. What goes in there?
A squared plus or minus squared. A squared.
4a.
A squared. 4a minus 3ab all over 2a. Yes, this could be on the exam. There we go.
Solution to a quadratic equation of the form x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That is a quadratic equation. If I can factor it, great. I can just use the factoring method that I spoke about earlier to get the roots, solutions. Or if I can use the square root property, I can use the square root property, get the solution. If none of those will work, I'll just go for the quadratic formula. But before I get to that, I want to explain how we got the quadratic formula. It's very straightforward. And then we can just do problems on quadratic formula. In the homework, on the exam, you just have to know some of the key steps in completing the square. So, very first step is to divide both sides by a. So, good. I've got to divide every single term by a. The a's would go away here. Yes? B over a x plus c over a. 0 divided by a. What is it? 0. Good. What is the objective of completing the square? Completing the square helps us to convert this equation, which doesn't have a perfect square on one side, a number on the other side, to the form where we can use square root property. In order to do that, there is a process, but I'm going to simplify it. I'll tell you what goes in the box. Oh, c over a, my bad. Good. So, x plus box squared plus c over a minus box squared. That would end up being a number. Do you agree? A is a number, B is a number, C is a number. When I move this to the other side, you will have a number, correct? Perfect square on one side, number on the other side, square root property. Good. So what should go in the box There's an algebraic part to it, but let's skip that part. I'll tell you what goes in there. It's b divided by 2a. Good. So this middle term divided by 2. So x plus b over 2a squared would equal to move that term to the other side, but so b over 2a squared minus c over a. Good. I can apply the square to the numerator and the denominator. So b squared divided by, if you square 2a, what would you get? 4a squared minus c over a. How do I combine this? Common denominator. Which is, what is the common denominator? 4a squared. So I have a, I'm missing a 4a, so I'm going to multiply and divide by 4a. 4a times a, 4a squared. Have a common denominator. Do you see bits and pieces popping up? Right? There's b squared minus 4ac. Is that b squared minus 4ac? Square root of 4a squared is 2a. When you move this b over 2a to the other side, you will get that minus b over 2a. Good. So, what is the completed version? X plus b over 2a squared equals b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. You can put that in your notes. Is that a perfect square? Yes, no, maybe. Yes. Is that a number? A is a number, B is a number, C is a number. The entire thing is a number. So I can use square root property and find the solution. Good. Going to go back. Can I erase the part? Take the easy example that I started with. I'm going to make it hard. How did I solve this problem earlier? Factor. Now, just to make things hard, what is the value of A? 1. What is the value of B? 5. What is the value of C?
6.
D. 0. Okay, thank you. Someone's paying attention. So x plus b over 2a squared would equal to b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. That is the completed version over there. Just going to plug in the numbers. So x plus b is 5. 2 times 1, 2 square equals b squared is 5 squared. What is 5 squared? 25 minus 4 times 1 times 6 divided by 4 times 1 squared. Good. I'm just plugging in the numbers. So x plus 5 over 2 squared would equal to 25 minus 24 divided by 4. What is 25 minus 24? 1. 1 over 4. So I had x squared plus 5x plus 6. I transform that equation to x plus 5 over 2 squared.
I'm confusing that 4.
4 times a squared. 4 times 1 squared.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect square on one side, number on the other side, square root property. What happens to the root and the square? Anytime you have a root, what do? Plus or minus. Since I have a root in division, I can apply the root separately to the numerator and the denominator. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. Good. How do we solve for x? Subtract 5 over 2. We have two solutions, minus 5 over 2 plus 1 over 2, minus 5 over 2 minus 1 over 2. Do I have a common denominator?
Yes.
Yes. Combine the numerators, 1 minus 5 minus 4. Do I have a common denominator?
Yes.
Yes. Combine the numerators, minus 5 minus 1 minus 6. Minus 4 divided by 2. Negative 2. Minus 6 divided by 2. Negative 3. Isn't that the solution we had at the beginning?
Yes. Yeah.
So, should you do that or this?
We did before.
Clearly factoring, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to do a little.
Can't you just put A, B, and C in the quadratic formula faster?
I'm about to go there, Landry.
Sorry.
So factoring, I could have just stuck with factoring because this particular problem is easier if you just do factoring. I did all this work to show you how completing the square will work to find the solution to a quadratic equation. Will I recommend you to do this? Absolutely not. First question that you should ask yourself when you see an equation of this sort is, can I factor it? If you can identify the factors, go directly to that. The second step is not this. It's that, like Landry pointed out, because This results in that equation. So I can directly plug in the values here to find the root -2 and -3. Cannot erase. I'll do another problem where factoring will not be possible, but I just want to connect the dots. So minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. That is the quadratic formula. I'm going to plug in the values. B 5, so -5, plus or minus square root b squared 5 squared 25 minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. Good. Minus 5 plus or minus square root of 25 minus 24 divided by 2. Good. 25 minus 24 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Yes? If I split this up, that step right there is the step up there. Yes? You see, you did all that work to get to this step. But I could have just used the quadratic formula and it would be past it. Does that make sense? So, anytime you see a quadratic equation, first thing to ask is, can I factor it? If you can't factor it, that's the way to solve. If you cannot factor it, the next step should be the quadratic formula, not completing the square, unless you learn math. Yes? So the part that is inside the root b squared minus 4ac is what we call the discriminant. The reason as to why we call it the discriminant, because this number is going to help us distinguish the type of solutions we will have. So, write it over here. Even before you start the problem, if the discriminant is positive, then the solution that you're going to have is two solutions. Two, and they will be distinct. If the discriminant is exactly 0, we call it one repeating solution because we need to have two solutions for a quadratic equation. If the discriminant is negative, then I would have two complex solutions. and they are always conjugates of each other. Complex solutions will always occur in conjugate paths. So if one of them is 1 plus I, the other is 1 minus I. It's given. So I strongly recommend that when you solve a problem, start with b squared minus 4ac, because it is going to go in the formula eventually. Just by looking at it. Can you tell me what the factors are? You've got to come up with two numbers so that when you multiply, you get 2. When you add, you get 1. 2 and 1. When I multiply, I get 2. But when I add, will I get 1? No. So definitely not 2 and 1. Can you think of anything else? Just by looking at it? No. So this is the type of problem where it is a waste of time to sit there and try and figure out the factors. So what is A?
1.
1. What is B?
1.
What is C?
2.
B squared minus 4ac. 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. Yes? 1 minus 4 times 2, 8. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Good. Discriminant is negative, so what type of solution should we have? 2 complex solutions. So that is the formula. I already know the value of the discriminant. The value of B is 1. So minus 1 plus or minus square root of negative 7 divided by 2 times 1. Anytime you see a negative inside the root, what do we do? I. You can leave it as is, but I just want to make a point and say, well, we have 2 solutions. One of them is minus 1 plus I root 7. The other one is minus 1 minus I root 7 over 2. Are those conjugates of each other? They are. Are we clear? Yes.
Quick question. How can you do the first part like separate to the second part?
This one?
Yes.
You could do it right here.
Mhm.
Now, I'm recommending this because even before you start the problem, if you know the nature of the discriminant, you will know the type of answer you will get.
Okay.
Right? It's negative, complex. If there's 0, 1 repeating solution. Positive, 2 distinct solutions. It'll help you process of elimination on an exam, things like that. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is no need to do this separately. Just doing it separately so that you understand the concept of a discriminant or its factors. So A in this problem is 1, B is 12, C is 36. B squared minus 4ac would be 12 squared minus 4 times 1 times 36. 12 squared, 144. 36 times 4, 144 equals 0. Earlier, I mentioned if the discriminant is 0, you will have one solution. You plug it in the formula, minus 12 plus or minus square root of 0 divided by 2 times 1. Square root of 0 is 0. Minus 12 divided by 6. Sorry, 2. You get minus 6. Good. Did we get one solution, two solutions, complex solutions? Two complex solutions. They are conjugates of each other. So A is 8, B is 9, C is 3. I'm going to do it directly so that you can see how to do it directly. So minus B, so minus 9, plus or minus square root. 9 squared is 81, minus 4 times 8, 32, 32 times 3, 96, minus 96 divided by 2 times 8, 2 times 8, 16. Good. So minus 9 plus or minus square root of 81 minus 96 is minus 15 divided by 60. I see a negative number. What should I do? I. So x is minus 9 plus or minus I root 15 divided by 60.